The modern poem was due yesterday. It's a folder for English. Hey, can you put those on the shelf in the back next to the extra literature books? That would be very helpful. But thank you for bringing them back. Yes, right there. Oh, you just walked past. Right. Yes, right there. Perfect. Yes, sir.
For the challenge, is it we have to write one sentence?
Write one.
All of those words in that sentence, or
Yes,
write-
use all 4 of those words in that sentence.
Oh.
And you have to use the words according to their meaning. So having a sentence that's like, I spelled these 4 words correctly doesn't count.
What does proficient mean?
Oh, proficient means you're very skilled in the area.
You're skilled at it. You're good at it. Not that you're the best ever, but that you can do it. You're proficient. Yeah. I know we're out of desks. Here we go. This class is full up. What? You're writing one sentence that uses all of them correctly. Roger? This is your first day in person, right? I'm not making this up. Welcome.
Like the air con.
There's a little bit of me that I was like, am I making this up? What if I say this is Roger and then it is not? That would be so
Like the air con.
Fight the aircon?
Yes.
No, you don't have to fight it. No. Are you wearing your jacket because you're wearing your PE shirt?
What?
Are you wearing your jacket because you're wearing your PE shirt and not your collared shirt?
Yes.
Yeah, Kai? Yes, you may. Okay. That's not a thing. All right, all right. All right, online people, go ahead and put your answers down, even if you're not quite done. Okay, and anybody who wants to share their sentence for the 4 words? Yeah, Kai?
My incentive is to personally ensure that happy was to be notable on social media.
Good, good, good. Very good, Rebecca. Anyone else want to share your sentence? Oh yeah, Maria?
I had some incentives to nurture the young student's math skills, and although he was proficient, his parents still wanted a notable student.
Yeah, makes sense. There you go. Very good. All right, here's the one that I have. His proficiency in math was notable because he had no incentive to nurture those skills. Okay, let's check the first 5. The correct answers are B-A-B-B-A. Right. Yeah, B-A-B-B-A. So first one's wrong because the smell of freshly baked biscuits isn't a melancholy smell.
It could depend on the person if you don't like.
Yes, I mean, if the biscuits reminded you of your dead grandmother, maybe. But in this case, the use of the word rich right in front of melancholy makes it so that it doesn't work. Instead, it could be, the house, if you wanted to make the word melancholy work there, you would say the house was filled with the smell of freshly baked biscuits, which filled me with melancholy because of the memory of my grandmother. Then it would work. But otherwise, this doesn't. Rich sadness isn't quite the right thing. Number 2, persist is correct there because you're talking about it continues, it keeps going, it persists. Number 3 is incorrect there. You're going to have a graphic answer or something. You might, you could have, I suppose you could have a graphic answer, but that's what you really very much, so that we're describing in detail something, but otherwise it really doesn't work Number 4, they want the word clean, not ratify. Ratify is like, you all must ratify this document before we can head to the next thing in class. That would be the word ratify. Number 5, pervade there is correct. It is spread throughout, it is diffused throughout the entire school. It is pervaded. Okay, questions? Well, cool. We're gonna move on then. I'm going to pray and then we'll take a couple questions here. Well, actually, not take a couple questions. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. Okay. God, thank you today for this class and these students, and help us today that we would learn and that we would be engaged in what we're doing. Thank you for our school and just help us keep it safe, and thank you for maintenance as they're working on putting in those plexiglass shields and for all the extra work they put in on that. In your name, amen. Okay, the next thing we're doing is we're going to talk through a little bit of YAC stuff. So if you are an in-person person, I've got YACs here. And if you're an in-person person and you gave me a paper copy of the YAC, then I have it here to give to you. If you are a online only person or you did not give me a paper copy of the YAC, then I do not have your YAC here. Your feedback can be found online. So if you want to go check that out on Turnitin.com, you can. Okay. Also, a couple of things before / as you're looking at your feedback, please keep in mind that despite what any of your grade may or may not be, the fact of the matter is, at the beginning of this thing, when we said you'll be writing a 6-page story, 6 to 8-page short story, many of you went, "What? Are we doing what?" I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure you just said that you were going to try to make me do something that's impossible. No way that's going to work. And at the end, you had in your hand a 6 to 8-page short story. You accomplished a great feat. Like, just having it written is a very big accomplishment. So just know that there's probably more than that. Okay, now I'm back. Oh, no. Okay, if I give you in-person feedback here, then the thing that you need to know, there are a couple of things. First off, my handwriting sucks, and I know that. So if when you are looking at it, you see a comment and you're like, I have no idea what this says, I can translate it. You just come ask me. I am not offended if you go, "Miss Newsom, this makes no sense." Because I get that, and sometimes I will even struggle to read it myself. So I can do translating. The second thing is this symbol here means paragraph. So if you see this symbol, it means start a new paragraph here, or it just means the word paragraph. Sometimes I just write a whole sentence and use that instead of the word paragraph, because paragraph is a long word. It's annoying to write. Also, if you're like, "Miss Newton, I gave you a paper copy, but I don't have, you didn't give me one now," that may also be because the paper copy you gave me was significantly different from the online version. Like maybe the formatting had messed up or something, so I just graded the online version in those cases. Or some of them were like missing a page. I just graded it online. There was some. Oh, yeah. Yes. For those who, that's the other thing. For those who need it for the next round of decision, they're on, I just printed off. Did you have a question or thing I needed to read?
I was wondering what the
Oh, the line, that's where you are. That's like, that's where I'm at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good question. Okay. Okay, so that's that. The other thing, online people, bear with me for just a moment. is I'm gonna give all the in-person people roll up everything my pride books. So, we're gonna do that. In-person people, when I give you your copy of roll up everything my pride, I will need you to turn to the title page, or like the very first page or whatever. The very first page, and you'll need to add your name to the list of people that's in the book. So like this one is, it's here. So you just add your name, the year, and the name, year, and class period is the information you need to put there. When you write it in the book, you do need to write it in pen so that no one else can find your book, put their name in it, and be like, it's mine when they turn it in, and then I'm not trying to set it up with you or whatever. So I will do that too. And we will start on this book on kind of Monday.
I'm gonna bet they say Brandon Sanderson book. You know.
This is not the same. This is. the
Oh.
Yes, sir. It's yours to have. Oh, wherever. The book is not yours. All right. All right. So in-person people, please put your name, class period, and year. It is name, class period, and year. Find the list and the other people around. Monday, we will take the vocab test. We'll take the vocab test, and then we'll go over some of the background information for that book. And Tuesday, we'll finish up the background info, and then we'll start to actually read it. This book is historical fiction, so it is set realistically within the United States in the 1920s, 1930s. So we're going to look at the context of that, because the historical context really affects what happens within the novel.
Are there supposed to be names here?
What?
Are there supposed to be names here?
Yeah, go back one page. No, back. You went forward. No, you went forward. Go back.
Where?
No. What? You never can do. Oh no, it's back one. I was like, how is that even possible? Okay. Online people, say hello, so that I know that you are still here. Yes, the grade is already in RunWeb. It's for third quarter. Oh, good, you're here. Yay. In-person people, I'm now coming around to check that you have correctly put your name, class period, and year in the book using a pen. Use the pencil. For some reason, I read the top name instead of the top name. I was like, you didn't even write the right name. Name, class period, year. I think it was some of them. She didn't have to have that. I know, I get so like, look at how good, relatively good condition it is. The fact that it's gonna use that one. How is it? It looks like.
I've had so many people say that to me, and I'm like, what?
But the person is terrible, different. I mean, yes, yeah, they're all like, I just go like, and I'm like,
Dude, that's old. That's when the Twin Towers were like 2000.
2001. In 2001, I was like in third grade.
No, really? What?
Yeah.
Third grade? I was living in North Dakota, so I would have been 6 to 9 years old.
So,
Whatever grade I was.
really?
In 2001?
Yeah.
So it's
Are
been-
they 25?
What? What? It's
27.
Oh,
I think I was
thought you were
35.
I thought you were.
I know. All right. Did you get this? Yay, okay, awesome. All right, cool. Moving onwards with class. Please again, remember, both have tests Monday, so study for that. Also, one of the things you need to do, this is your big homework thing is due tomorrow. You need to find a poem, bring it to class, and submit it to Schoology. Those two things. Bring it to class, submit it to Schoology. Now, when I say bring it to class, for those of you online who are going to be in person tomorrow, when I say bring it to class, that can either be a digital copy, as in you have it on your Kindle or phone, or it can be a paper copy that you have printed off from the interwebs, or it can be a photocopy of a book, or it can be a handwritten thing, like you found this on the internet and then you copied it down on a piece of paper. That also works too. You just need to have it with you in class. If you're online tomorrow, you need to have it with you when you're doing this. Then the poem itself that you find should be at least 8 lines long. It can be longer than that. You can use a poem that's like 100 lines long, that's fine. It just needs to be at least 8 lines long. And it should be one that you personally connect with on some level. I'm about to talk to you guys about how to find that poem in just a moment. So, but then you're also going to submit it to Schoology as proof to me that you have it. Okay. What we're going to do with that poem is we're going to be analyzing it. But let's talk for just a minute briefly about how on earth we find this poem. So you're looking for a poem that someone else wrote and it has been published somewhere. Not just like one of your friends wrote it, but you're looking for a published poem. Simplest way to find it is to, Google it. Woohoo. However, if you just Google poetry, you're gonna end up with some really random things, and probably Robert Frost, Fire and Ice poem. And I swear, if every single one of you comes in with Robert Frost, Fire and Ice, I'll be upset. Personally, I think Robert Frost is a boring poet. I know I'm not supposed to say that. Great American poet, we're all supposed to like him, but
Technically, like, some kind of like, we're like if we have to like this person because like the government or something just like makes it like that country.
no, it's just that there's a lot of people within the English community, the English narrative community, that think Robert Frost is like the greatest of all time, and I think he's boring. So, proof that you can have personal taste in art. You can decide whether or not to like it or not. That's up to you. All right, like he's the one who wrote the Road Not Taken poem. 2 roads to Burton to Yellowwood, and I took the one less travel back. That one. I think it's overrated. Anyways, if you just Google poems, you're just gonna end up with a bunch of random things like that. What you actually want to do is Google more specifically. So Google poems about, and then pick an emotion. Poems about despair, poems about depression, poems about happiness, poems about joy, poems about anger, poems about family, poems about love, poems about, just pick a random thing and Google poem about this. Choose something that's important to you, poem about this.
So we can pick
Other
any.
option, you're gonna wanna be more specific, that's gonna get towards the bottom there. The other option of finding a poem is if you happen to own a poetry book, or if you want to stick around after school here today and look through the poetry books that I have, you can skim through titles and authors and just skim through them until you find one that snags on you. You're like, oh, that sounds interesting, and then you read that. Okay, you can do it that way as well. You can also look up specific authors. There's like Sarah Teasdale, Maya Angelou. Wow, I almost said Upton Sinclair, he's a novelist. Longfellow, Wordsworth, Robert Frost, Emily Dickinson. You can Google famous poets and then look up poems by them if you would like as well. The thing is, the most important thing is that you read, and read a lot. Don't just pick the first one you see. I want you to read at least 15 poems. That's what I want you to do. Read 15 poems and then pick one of those. But read 15 first before you settle on any one. And it might be that you end up going back and choosing your first one because that was the best one you read. Or it might be that you're like, hey, you know what? That 15th poem, that was the one. I actually Thought that one was good. The other ones were kind of boring. And that one I got. I get that, I feel that. That's what, so I want you to read until you find the one that you like. Also, I understand that in the realm of poetry, there are many authors like Saul Silverstein, Predeletsky, I have no idea how you say his name. There's a lot of consonants and not enough vowels in his name. Jack, starts with a P, whatever. Dr. Seuss. There's a lot of poems that are written for children. Mother Goose. I want you to stay away from those children's books. Choose a poem that has actual substance to it. That's more. You're not looking necessarily for like silly works here. You're looking for more serious works. So if you want to like, for those of you who are just thinking, oh, I could Google a poem about video games. Let's try to go a more serious note here. All right. And then we're gonna pick a poem that you haven't seen before, that you don't know, but that you connect with. That way you can come to this with fresh eyes. Okay, now questions about how to find a poem or what type of thing you should be looking for. Yes.
It has to be printed out.
You can either print it out or you can bring it with you on your device. But you'll be online tomorrow. Just have it with you. Yes.
Are we going to need this just for Friday or bring it Monday?
You'll need it for Friday. I'm hoping that we finish the whole analysis within class time. Yes,
We have to leave this in that question, like, see what it's doing.
the book, Roll Thunder Hammer Crap. You're gonna need it in school on maybe Monday, but for sure Tuesday.
So we could just leave it
You're
here.
supposed to leave it here until Tuesday. Huh?
When I need this one today.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You can leave it here until Tuesday. Any other questions? Online people, any questions? No? Okay, cool. Okay, what we're gonna be doing with this poem that you're gonna find is we're gonna be analyzing it. What I mean by analysis is we're gonna follow some specific steps. I'm gonna go through those steps with you today, and then I'm gonna show you them completed, and then we're gonna work through them together on a different poem before you work through it on your own on the poem that you pick. So it's scaffolding, people, if you want the fancy educational term for this. So here we go. How are we doing poetry analysis? How does this skill work? Well, step one, read through the poem at least 2 times. Ideally, out loud. You're reading through it out loud so you can hear the rhythms of the poem. It's hard to hear the rhythm, ba-da-dum, 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 if you're reading The Assyrian Came Down Like a Wolf on the Pole. But if you read it out loud, you can actually hear it. So read it out loud so you can hear those rhythms. And then check for what is the main idea of the poem? What does this author seem to be trying to say? And then what lines clued you into that meaning specifically? What parts of the poem made you think that that's the big idea? That's the theme, the message of the poem. What made you think that? And then check for the rhyme scheme. That's the whole A, A, B, B, C, C, you know, A, B, B, A, B, B, A, C, D, E, C, D, E. Okay, that's the rhyme scheme of an Italian song, if anyone cares to know. So check for rhyme scheme. Look for patterns within that rhyme scheme. Look for places where the rhyme scheme suddenly changes. Look for those kinds of things. Then check for rhythm. Is there a rhythm pattern that's repeated throughout the whole poem? Like The Assyrian Came Down Like a Wolf on the Pole, that his cohorts were bleeding in silver and gold. Or, you know, I think that I shall never see your poems lovely as a tree. So for the whole poem, it's like ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. You know, does it do that for the whole poem? Or not? If it doesn't, then check, are there places where the rhymes, where there is a little bit of a rhythm and it seems important? Are there places where the rhythm kind of reflects what's going on in the poem? For example, in somebody's Paul Revere's Ride, there's a place in the poem where it sounds like hoofbeats of a galloping horse. And it's because in that part of the poem, the horse is galloping. And in the parts where the horse is not galloping, it doesn't sound like that. It only sounds like that in the galloping part. So he uses that rhythm to make you hear the horse go. Then check for other poetic devices. Look for imagery. Now, let me pause on imagery for a second. Lots of people, when they see imagery, the word imagery, they start to think that I'm talking about the theme. And they'll be like, the poem is about, the imagery is sadness. No, the imagery is not sadness because you cannot see sadness. You can see a tear streaming down a child's cheek, you can see someone sobbing on the ground, you cannot see sadness. So when I'm talking about imagery, I'm talking about things that you can actually see. Like physically, they could be in front of you, like this podium. A dream is not something you can see. It's not something that's like, this is real. When I'm talking about imagery, I'm talking about like real concrete things. So like a bird, I can see that. A cloud in the sky, I can see that. Faithfulness, I can't see. Dreams, I can't see. So you're looking at things you can see within that one. Then look for repetition, look for alliteration, asking its consonants, look for allusions to outside work, look for places where the line length is either a lot shorter or a lot longer than everywhere else, and why would it be like that? Look for places where there's unusual punctuation, unusual capitalization, and mark that up. Then in the end, we're going to write all this stuff down. So, for example, if we were looking at, we're going to come back to that in a second, but if we were looking at Langston Hughes' poem, Hold Fast to Dreams, honestly, cool poet. Okay, if we're looking at Hold Fast to Dreams, the first thing I'm going to do is on the left side of the poem, I'm going to write out the line numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just write them out on the left side of the poem. Then the next thing I'm going to do is on the right side of the poem, I'm going to write out the rhyme scheme. So dreams doesn't rhyme with anything, it gets an A. Die doesn't rhyme with anything, it gets a B. See doesn't rhyme with anything, it gets a C. Or bird, and then fly doesn't rhyme with die, it gets a B. So A, B, C, D is my rhyme pattern. And it repeats in the next stanza. So I notice, hey, I do actually have a rhyme scheme the author is using. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm looking for those poetic devices in the poem. So I noticed that in line 3 and 4, there's a metaphor. So I need to say, in these lines, there is this poetic device. And then the next thing I want to do is I'm going to analyze why that's there, what it does in the poem. So he compares his life to without dreams to a bird that has broken wings. Birds with broken wings have been trapped on land, unable to fulfill their true purpose, unable to have real joy. In the same way, life without dreams is joyless and purposeless. So why does that metaphor exist? What does that metaphor mean? Then I talk about rhyme. Here's these lines rhyme, they have matching syllable counts. It helps to hold the poem together, it brings unity, because they're part of the same work of art. Then I mentioned the second metaphor of the poem. The final thing I'm going to do is bring it all together with what is the theme of the poem. What does this poem mean as a whole? That's the next thing I do. Okay, now we're going to go through this process together with Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise. So what I need everyone in here in person to do is get out a piece of paper. You're going to be writing down some answers on that piece of paper. If you're an online person today, I need you guys to write your answers in the chat. So I'm going to be asking some questions and walking us through this, and I want you to write your answers down. So our first step is we're going to start with reading through the poem 2 times. Oh, and I should tell you, Maya Angelou is a famous African-American author who wrote, like, within the last, she's dead now, but she was recently alive. Wrote starting in like the civil rights era movement in the 60s, all the way up through 2000s, I believe, or 90s when she died. Can't remember which it is. But so just so you kind of have an idea of her background, and then help you understand stuff. She wrote a lot about her background, her life, her experience as a Black woman in the United States. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read this poem out loud. As I'm reading it out loud, I want you to look for 2 things. 1, what's the main idea of the poem? What is the author attempting to communicate? And 2, do you notice any rhythm in the poem? Okay, so let's move to the poem. You may write me down in history. Oh, one thing I need to do before I do that. I did remove 2 stanzas from the poem just because they wouldn't fit on the slides. So there are 2 stanzas missing from the middle of the poem that I just cut out because they don't fit. Here we go. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes and springing high, still I rise. Do you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise.
I'm a black ocean, weeping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of a slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Okay, I'm gonna read it one more time. Again, what's the main idea of the poem? Do you notice any rhythm? You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes and springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like dust or like air, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. On a black ocean, weeping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of a slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Now, write on your paper, what's the main idea of the poem and how did you know? What are the lines that told you that's the main idea? So you're writing it on a piece of paper. Yeah, glad you like this one, so. Yeah, I love this one. So main idea and how do you know? Main idea, how do you know? Okay. Online people, I'm gonna check your answers, just a second. And if you wrote in your idea that, in your, like, her main idea is I rise somewhere, I want you to define, what does she mean, I rise? What does that mean? If you wrote down the line as the proof, don't worry about it, but if like that was your definition, then what does that mean? What does she mean? Right here. She's not gonna let oppression, she's not gonna let what other people think of her, other people trying to hurt her or humiliate her emotionally, physically, whatever. She's not gonna let that stop her, right? She's gonna overcome. So it's about overcoming oppression. Really. Main idea is places that we get that, many of you pointed this out, the fact that it's repeated over and over and over again, I rise, I'll rise. Many times. And then you see the idea of oppression, really, or people trying to hurt her in stanzas 1, 2, 4, yeah, 5. 1, 2, 4, and 5. We see that idea repeated. Next thing I want you to look for, I want you to look at the rhyme scheme. What is the rhyme scheme of this poem? That's the things with the A's and the B's, whatever. So the first line is A, the second line, if it rhymes with the first line, it gets the same letter. If it doesn't, it gets a new letter. So show me the rhyme scheme, write that down on your page. And if you're online, of course, you're writing it in the chat. Okay. They're on the metal shelf. If it's the same, you can say it's the same for these stanzas.
Okay.
So if it's the same for multiple stanzas, you can just say it's the same for these stanzas. Okay. You should have noticed that all of the quatrains, their rhyme scheme is A, B, C, B. A, B, C, B. So like you can see in the first stanza, history doesn't rhyme with anything. Wise rhymes with dry, so they both make B, and dirt doesn't rhyme with anything. It's a C. So A, B, C, B. But the rhyme scheme changes for the last two stanzas. Suddenly it's no longer A, B, C, B. My rhyme scheme in the last two stanzas, shame is an A, rise is a B, pain is an A, rise is a B. Wide and tie are both C's. In the next stanza, it's A, B, C, C, and then A. So all of a sudden my rhyme scheme changes in the middle of the poem. Now she had a very strict rhyme scheme for the first, well, technically there were 7 stanzas, but again, I got rid of it. She has a very strict rhyme scheme. And then all of a sudden she changes. Why? Why do you think she changes rhyme scheme here? What else changes in the poem at that point? Yeah, Kai?
The first 5 stanzas kind of talk about like how, like he's kind of building up a bit, and it also talks about how like other people like treat her and stuff. And then the last 2 kind of talk about like what she's gonna do, like what.
Yeah, it more focuses on what she's doing and it focuses on her heritage. Can you see that? Yeah. Sure.
It's building up to a specific climate.
Right, so the shift helps that climactic build. Yeah. Yeah, any other thoughts or ideas? I think those are probably the two key ideas. First, we're building to a climactic moment and that change catches your attention and it basically tightens things. It's like shifting gears in the car. Second, we are changing focus. The first poems about the first stanzas are about how other people view her and the fact that she's fine with it, she doesn't care. She's like, look who I am. The last two stanzas are, this is who I am. This is my background. This is my heritage, and I'm still gonna rise through it. And so she shifts it, and when she shifts the ideas, she shifts the rhyme scheme as well. So you can see that the rhyme scheme here matters. So in a lot of poems, rhyme scheme is kind of background. In this poem, it has more of a central role. Okay, that's really all we have time for today. We'll finish up this analysis tomorrow of this poem, and then we'll move on from there. If you have, if you like this poem, the ideas of this poem, Langston Hughes, if you like this, and then so you could look at his name. There's also another poem called Invictus that you could look up that has a similar feel to it that you might enjoy. My indomitable.
We keep the paper that we.
It may be helpful to keep the paper you were doing this analysis on, yes, because we will be coming back to it tomorrow. Okay, that's it. The class day you are dismissed. I'm going to keep you question. No, there's ladies next year. Yeah, that's great. Roger, good to see you. Person? Neighbor? So you need to, Giacomo, you're bringing, all this do is you need to turn in a poem on Schoology, like find a poem and turn it in on Schoology by tomorrow, and then have that with you in class tomorrow. That's it? That's what's taking.
Like ready for the app on my phone.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so, yeah, Giacomo, I just need, you need to have it in big time, so like if you're gonna be doing school from somewhere else, you know, like, for example, you have to be in the car or something, just make sure you have that poem with you. Because we're gonna actually, the poem that you choose, you're going to be analyzing in class tomorrow. Yeah, no problem. Okay, bye. Eric, any questions? Okay. See you later.